there, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at two Gore Verbinski films, which are Mousehunt and Rango. You can almost call this an evolution of a director. Basically, Gore Verbinski was a director who originally I was not a massive fan of, but he has gotten a lot better as he gets more experience. He started out as a commercials director and then he came up to mainstream cinema with Mousehunt. And then he made the Mexican and the Ring remake before going to Pirates of the Caribbean films. And then he went on to do this film, Rango, The Lone Ranger, which is a massive bomb, which I liked a lot. And the Cure for Wellness, which I've not seen yet. He's doing a new film just now. But he's a director who he's either really busy or seems to do nothing for a while. I'm not sure if just projects don't come together or what, but he seems to be either like throwing films out every 2 minutes or you don't see him for years. He's that kind of weird kind of career. But yeah, originally I was not a massive fan. I mean, I saw this film and video when it came out, and Mousehunt, and I wasn't particularly keen on it. Then he remade The Ring. I've not seen Mexican. He remade The Ring, and I much preferred the original. I thought the remake was a bit obvious, but a lot of people liked it and it affected people. Then he made Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a very enjoyable film. It's a bit rough around the edges, but that's probably part of its charm. It does have a problem. Some of the action scenes tend to be kind of a lot of... To me, there's some empty action in there. There's also some fun stuff in there. It just feels like it's like 10 minutes too long. And there's bits that are like, you could have lost that. And would have still got the point. But that's just a minor gripe. It was still very enjoyable. And at that point, he seemed to get an idea of his character stuff. Like, he's a director with a cartoonish sensibility that I think in the early films for me were a bit too broad and hadn't really been worked out to the right balance. But when you get into the Pirates of the Caribbean films, maybe work with Johnny Depp, where he let Depp be the cartoonish one, but also ground it within just the weird characteristics and let everyone else be either straight, like the two leads, or eccentric, like Jeffrey Rush or Jonathan Pryce, who could be eccentric within a framework. They're not going to be eccentric as Johnny Depp, but they are enjoyably eccentric. Need supporting characters, like some of the pirates who could, Kevin McAnally, who could be the sidekick to Johnny Depp and be ooh-ah and have a lot of fun, with the character. And just know the cliches of playing off. And I think you got more confident as the films went on. I think the second Pirates film is my favourite of the three that he made, because he seemed to have a better idea of the tone there and there was less dull spots. And most of the action beats seem to have a reason for being much more inventive. I just feel like, he's much more into this now. He's worked out what the parameters of this kind of storytelling is, and the action scenes seem inventive, the character scenes seem more inventive, and overall it just has... There's a really great scene in the middle where they're fighting, there's three of them fighting for this one case, which has got Davy Jones' heart, and there's three characters not on a wheel that's rolling down, and everyone's got a motivation, so it's like it works really well. The third Pirates film, initially I wasn't so keen on, but actually looking at it now, like later on, it actually holds up pretty well. It's a bit more art, and it's got too much plotting to actually be satisfying. There's just too much going on. But the direction and the atmosphere that what the actors do with it is a lot of fun. So it's just it has script problems, but it's still enjoyable. It's still like looking back on it and watching it from a distance. It's like, yeah, this is all a good film. It's the Gore Verbinski Pirates movies are so much better than what followed without them. It's like they're saying they're going to do another Pirates movie soon. It's like, just bring back Gore Verbinski and let him do it. He knows how to do it properly. He moved on now to Rango, which is probably my favourite of his films. I think this Rango is my favourite. But despite its flaws, I also really enjoyed Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger has an amazing action scene at the end that is just so inventive. and it has some lovely stuff throughout. It's a bit long, but there's still some wonderful things throughout it. But Rango was a film was a success, and it was a critical success. And I think it was almost like it was a perfect Western for him, so he didn't need to do another Western, but he did. It's that kind of weird thing. Is like he probably should have quit while he was ahead. But okay, so I'll quote the two films I was going to spotlight now. Mouse Hunt. Mouse Hunt is basically a Tom and Jerry movie where you have a mouse who's in this building, and he's basically this building's like an inherited building made by this insane genius that was owned by the father of our two lead characters. The father has died and left them this is an inheritance, and they have to figure a way to renovate it but also get rid of the mouse. The mouse is causing them issues. The mouse is causing problems for them. Instead of basically ignoring the mouse and just rebuilding the thing, sell it and let the next person deal with the mouse. No, they have to deal with the mouse themselves. They're obsessed with dealing with this mouse. And so basically your two lead characters are meant to be your protagonists, but instead of the villains. And the mouse is a hero. And it's an imbalance the film never gets right, because there's not enough time spent with the mouse to start with. So the mouse is just still a special effect, so it's not really a character. It's just an object to be killed. So it doesn't have the personality of a Jerry character who you can really get behind. It's just this CGI mouse. And your two leads played by Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, they're trying their best, but the characters are defined in a very broad way, which Verbinski likes doing in his later films, which he got better at though. In this one, they're just too broad without any human elements. You're meant to feel bad for Lee Evans as a younger one. Did I see Lee Pacey earlier on? Probably did. Lee Evans. You're meant to feel bad for him to start with because his wife throws him out and he's a sad sack and he's trying to, do right. Well, Nathan Lane is the more, the dastardly brother, the greedy brother who's a chef at a big restaurant, and he's like above everybody. He's a Dick Dastardly feel to him, and Lane's enjoying playing it. But the characters are so broad, you can't really get behind them. You know they're the villains, but they're not interestingly. They're not set up in an interesting way, and they're not developed in an interesting way. So you can get either behind them or really enjoy watching them suffer. You can enjoy watching them suffer to a degree, but there is this imbalance in the film where it's like things happen to them, and it's like, okay. The slapstick's not hilariously funny, and it did not get great reviews. I mean, it did a lot better on video, I think. It did well enough in the cinema, people went to see it. But it probably made its most marketing in the home video where kids could watch, and kids weren't that bothered with the fact that there was no character development. It was just these two idiots trying to kill this mouse. There's all these things about the mouse as a metaphor for the father, disappointed fathers trying to show them a way to actually have healthier lives than they're actually living at the moment. But that's just, very threadbare plotting and themes, and there's just nothing to this film. Ultimately, it's just about the gags. The gags are not that inventive. The best stuff comes when Christopher Walken turns up as a maniac rat killer who's they just let it be a Christopher Walken 15-minute section of the film, which is the best part of the film because he's completely insane, and you've actually got a protagonist and an antagonist there, and it makes sense and it's perfect, and it's like that's what the rest of the film should have been. We're not quite sure. We know they're the villains, but they're not. We have to like them a little bit, and it just becomes this kind of weird thing where there's all these gags, and you're not really behind anything. It's just that we're watching this thing play out, and it's just an unsatisfying film that I always wanted to like better more than I do. I really want to like this film. It's because I do like that kind of slapstick and the kind of Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry type of humour, and where people are crashing into things. I like all that stuff, but the way this film does it is too arch, and there's just no character to really get behind. I mean, if you look at the Looney Tunes stuff, when you have Bugs Bunny against somebody, it's very defined characters. Daffy Duck, same very defined character. The Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, very defined characters that create situations that get humour, and a lot of the time the humour comes from you know the character, you know how they're doomed. And it just works. And that's when they don't develop the characters right, and it just doesn't really work. So that's Mousehunt. Mousehunt's frustrating. In a way that Rango isn't. Rango is... The funny thing is, Rango has a protagonist that is potentially just as annoying as the two leads in Mousehunt. Because Verbinski does like characters who are flawed and who have a lot to learn. But in this case, Johnny Depp plays this lizard character who's is knocked out of his car, the car he's travelling with his owners in, and suddenly he's in the desert and he's trying to survive. He ends up in a town where essentially they're looking for someone, a new sheriff, to defeat all these evil threats. So it becomes a western, but it's a western parody. And Depp's character is a liar who will lie and say, "Oh, I'm definitely the guy for you," even though he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. And he's forced into all these adventures where he becomes the kind of hero he's been trying to avoid. There is this love interest played by Isla Fisher that's throwing him on. She believes in him and then he lets her down. Everything's a cliche you've seen before, but it's done charmingly. And the thing is, even though Depp's character lies, he's set him up so early as this fantasist who really needs the fantasy land, who's stuck in a rut of his own making because he's just this creature who's in this little aquarium by himself and he's slowly going mad. And the important thing is, when things go bad, he does try and make things better. He slowly but surely develops the skills he needs to be better. But it's funny when you see him fail. You see him try to scheme out of things, but it's still with him because Johnny Depp plays him with charm. And you also know his flaws, but you also know he's not actually that bad. He's just, he needs to grow up a little bit. So it's basically a teenager learning to grow up, and you're kind of with him on the journey. And that allows them to do tons of slapstick stuff, tons of adventure situations. There's a really great scene where they're in the desert and they're fighting against the villains, and they have to go on the run from the villains through this massive adventure scene where there's all these flying things chasing them. And they're on this one carriage. And it's wonderful, so inventive. Probably one of the most inventive things Verbinski's ever done. There's a good villain in the town mayor who's manipulating everything and who's holding the water supply hostage, and he is basically lying to the people. And of all these things, all these cliches, but it's done perfectly. And the animation's terrific. It's the ILM commanded animation. And because they wanted a challenge, because they used to doing special effects, but this was a challenge to do animated characters. So their technique of knowing how to do landscapes and do the effects mixed with Verbinski's interesting characters made an interesting look to it. So even when the film came out and did well, but not amazingly well, it's one of those films. I think it was like everyone was happy that they'd made it, and it was get this thing of it's a title that will keep going in any kind of film library because it'll keep reselling because it's an enjoyable film. It's not the most famous animated film, but it is a good one. It's well respected, and it's because just the charm of it and the way the lightness of touch, which is just not there in the Mousehunt. Mousehunt has no lightness of touch. Well, in Rango, there just is. From every moment, it's just like it knows when to be silly, it knows when to be a bit more serious, it knows when to do the send up, it knows when to be more genuine with the emotions and play into the kind of absurdity, but also treat it seriously. It's when you see a maturity of a director who understands what the tools are in a way that in something like Mousehunt he really didn't. He was just doing things that felt like gags that were either done in a commercial, but there was no momentum from start to finish of what's the storytelling. It's just a lot of effective gags, but because there's no character there, you're not really connected. So I hope this video is interesting for you, just to kind of a director's range as they go on. Because some directors start out and they're great at the start. But Verbinski got better, but when it started out, it was not so hot. At least for me. So that's me on these two films. I hope you go and enjoy Rango. Mouse Hunt, you're on your own with that one. You might like it, you might not, but I just found it kind of fairly difficult to get through. Right, that's me for now. I'll see you later. Right, bye.